It all started with Bitcoin, built on a decentralized distributed ledger called a blockchain. The world's first successful cryptocurrency inspired a vision to bring the world sound money and change the way people think about their relationship with the global financial system. Then, Ethereum came along and added a new dimension of innovation by giving anyone the power to program tokens and build open-source applications on a blockchain. The invention of smart contracts showed the world that there was more to blockchain than just currency. The opportunity to give people ownership of their digital identities and assets has incited a revolution that will change the way people work, trade, build, and interact with one another. This is the dawn of the next era of the internet.
I've heard the terms Web 1 is about reading information, Web 2 is writing, Web 3 is owning, and that's definitely true. In a lot of ways, it's about the progression of how people interface with others online. So Web 1 was really about the availability of information online. Web 2 was about content and connectivity, but connectivity in a bit of a shallow way because a lot of these social media platforms focus heavily on likes, follows. Web 3 is a level above that. Like how can people engage and interact better with each other beyond just following content?
Can you explain what internet is?
You've got mail.
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
I think the potential of what the internet is going to do to society, both good and bad, is unimaginable.
Web 1 was people that are interested in this new technology, and they're kind of just thrashing and kicking and trying to find what things they can do with it. It's very playful, it's very open. At the early stages of what I think would be the transition into Web 2, there was a lot of good happening. You started to get underground meme cultures and chat rooms where you'd get individuals who didn't feel like they fit into their local physical or regional communities could find their tribe. That was, in my opinion, maybe the peak of the internet. And then corporations began to learn how to really maximize Web 2 to gain the monies. And as soon as money became the forefront of the reason for Web 2 to exist, I personally feel like it started to kind of go downhill.
Human being is worth more if they're addicted, distracted, polarized, disinformed, and outraged.
We now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places, to try to make these products as addictive as possible.
Because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology.
It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works.
Like the culmination of Web 2 has resulted in the internet becoming a pretty unenjoyable space. I consider Web 3 to be the time where we see a transition to users becoming owners again of the internet.
I think Web 3 is a movement to decentralize the data, but also bring ownership to the individual. To have control over my own data is something that is so powerful and doesn't really exist in Web 2.
To me, Web 3 just means decentralization of the authority. To me, opening things up so it's easier to both get in, use the various resources to sort of decentralize how that's monetized.
Web3 is the all-encompassing term for everything that's happening in the crypto universe. It's NFTs, it's DAOs, it's DeFi. I think it's an all-encompassing sort of idea of new infrastructure existing on-chain.
I view the metaverse as sort of an on-ramp or a way to access some of those resources that people are creating under those umbrella of Web3.
I think a lot of times the definition of the metaverse can be confused. In our case, we're really just focusing on enabling people to connect in more meaningful ways online that's reminiscent of in-person-like interactions.
Gamerjive is a metaverse as a service platform. We designed it specifically to enable people to interact online, but using an immersive environment instead of a static 2D video type of environment. This will actually become an easier way for you to meet people than in real life. If you're concerned about climate change, there's a lot of advantage to being able to jump into a virtual metaverse as opposed to having to fly across the globe to meet people. One of the things that we got started with was just to enable high school students and college students to be able to interact with recruiters. And we've used it in everything from enabling startup founders to network with angel investors to enabling fashion brands to build highly customized metaverses that really reflect their branding. There's a lot of future use cases that we haven't even envisioned yet.
The real benefit of the metaverse in the future would be enabling better peer-to-peer interactivity and connectivity, and for them to interact with brands in really unique and interesting ways.
You're also going to see, I think, a lot more humanity injected into the environments that people want to spend more active time in. Not just because they happen to be associated with a brand or they happen to feel that brand represents them, but they feel that the other people who are also in that same space share their values. And they may not live in the same zip code, the same country, they may have different language barriers, but what they can do is connect in a space that's very unique. And it really feels like this is where they were meant to be.
So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. When you want to describe that for the layperson, you really have to break it down, right? So what is fungible versus non-fungible? So fungibility has to do with an item being interchangeable, right? So like the digital dollars in your bank account are fungible. So a non-fungible token is a unique asset. And the token side of it means it's a unique asset that's tied to the blockchain. So it's hard to say what a non-fungible token is because it can be so many things. And so oftentimes when people talk about non-fungible tokens, they talk about PFP projects or crypto art. And honestly, I think that crypto art and PFP projects are the most trivial use case for non-fungible tokens. So non-fungible tokens have a bunch of different uses. One of those is build rights in the metaverse. So a place like CryptoVoxels or Decentraland, when you buy land, you're granted the right to build on that land. But also when you buy that, you're granted one-for-one vote for your parcels. So then you can use your NFTs as voting rights as well as build rights. So we see, even right now, there's a bunch of different uses for NFTs.
What I'm excited about is really like the utility side of it. The ability for an NFT to be more than one of those things. It can be a key and a badge of participation. It can be a membership pass. It also serves as a souvenir from the work that you've done. That utility to me is exciting because it's going to help us bring NFTs to more people. Like I think there's a small audience who are really interested in the collectible side, and there's an even bigger audience who are interested in like a safer way to exchange tickets or a safer way to have access to a space.
NFTs are really exciting in general because they exhibit certain properties like ownership, scarcity, and interoperability. So something that I'm really excited about is the ability for an NFT to extend their value from a single source platform into all kinds of platforms and applications. And the beautiful thing about the blockchain is it really empowers individuals and creators to be able to build really interesting tools and experiences using this type of common data structure.
A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. Essentially what it is, it's a group of people who share a mission and are now finally able to coordinate capital together.
This organization does not have HQ. It can be anywhere. It can just live on the blockchain. An organization that is led by the community through governance, and it's open for anyone to take part in, so it's not closed behind doors.
So first of all, decentralized, meaning that no single person has the keys to the treasury, keys to the direction of the DAO. There's no unilateral decision-making. Autonomous comes down to when people vote, actions are taken automatically. The idea is that once a vote is cast, it's done. It takes out trust from the equation. An organization, that just comes down to community. These communities are built on usually a single mission. Ours was this NFT and this idea that we want to bring people from the corporate world into the DAO space.
DAOs are a flat structure compared to corporates. Now you have democratized decision-making. So you've got tons of people who are equally invested in the project and they can contribute meaningfully and not be limited to what some like higher-ups have to say.
Funding projects through DAOs is easier because of the permissionless nature of things. That concept is key. So you just go ahead and do it. If you gather support, then you get your funding.
I think we have a great opportunity now that there are billions of dollars, $1 trillion on chain. Now we have a chance to actually organize this capital in a very responsible, transparent way.
decentralized finance, enables us to do what would have previously required a centralized entity, except without needing a centralized entity because it's now controlled by a smart contract that anybody can interact with a web wallet. So there's no barriers to entry or exit.
The thing I'm most excited about in Web3 is DeFi. I think the idea of being able to democratize financial access is really, really important. I think a lot of us in the US are looking at DeFi from an American point of view, but Bitcoin sometimes is less volatile than people's national currency. And I think the importance of sustainable financial infrastructure can't be overstated.
There's a huge learning curve for people who are non-technical. And I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks to on-ramping people into Web3. There's all these different crypto wallets and all these different blockchains and different ways in which to interact. And now I understand that. And it's mostly because people just showed me how to do it. And that's one of the things I will also say is great about the crypto community is a lot of people understand it's confusing and want to help people out. Most of the people I meet in this space are helpful and understanding and want to create this community and make it this beautiful place.
It takes time for people to get used to the new paradigm, if you will, just as much as it did 10, 15 years ago when Web 2.0 came out and all these social media platforms started coming out. You took a long time for older generation to get onto Facebook. But you're also gonna see with that extra time, you're gonna see that design evolve and you're gonna see better user interfaces, you're gonna see better experiences.
Ultimately, I think it's really important that this Web3 trend actually impacts people for the better in the long run. What I really get to point out to my team is going back, why did we get into this space in the first place? What are we doing to enable people to live better, productive, healthier lives? And oftentimes, I think there's a confusion between technology and that. But I do think that is really why this type of technology will become pervasive for the world.
As more and more people come to depend on the internet for their livelihood, who holds the power over its infrastructure and data that lives on the web becomes an increasingly important question. And for better or worse, whatever the internet becomes will ultimately be a reflection of our values. So what sort of future are we looking to build?